Welcome to the many interpretations of Microraptor. Microraptor is a dromaeosaur that lived in the early Cretaceous of what is now China. They're a very, very cool little dinosaur that we have a very good understanding of. Like, we even know what colors they had in life. Isn't that cool? That's very cool, though that was a later discovery. That wasn't made until 2012, so most depictions that we see on this list are not going to have Microraptor's true colors, which is a shame. But that won't stop us from enjoying Microraptor, so let's get right into it. We'll start off with the Dinosaur Feather Mystery that was released in 2004, so it doesn't have the proper colors. This one sports a more so brown coloration that seems to like kind of blend in with its environment, which is, it's a decent route to take. It does have like 4 wings. Microraptor did have 4 wings that, on its arms as well as on its legs, with those extended sort of like flight feathers. It's portrayed as being a gliding dinosaur, which was a very much accepted idea. Nowadays, it's kind of gone back and forth over the years, but nowadays most are kind of leaning into like some limited powered flight. I'm sure the gliding wasn't really off the table. I think its wings would help support that, but it'd be able to flap its wings every once in a while to kind of help itself continue to move. All around, though, I like this fella. I think he's a pretty dang good start to this list. After that is Prehistoric Park. So I actually talked about this little fella with Nigel Marvin when I interviewed him. So I'll let him cover this section. What was it like to work with, making that specific episode with the Microraptor? Like, what was your overall experience with that?
That was great because that was in Rotorua, New Zealand. So they chose locations that were a match for the prehistoric. Well, I really didn't do very much in a studio. It was mainly on location, about 30 days per episode for each in a location. I love the scene where I'm rocket netting the Microraptor, and then there's a eruption, and then the big sauropods come past me and nearly injure a Microraptor. So
Yeah.
it was a great scene, and it was, and I love the animatronic. The only thing wrong with the animatronic is they'd obviously found a dead magpie and pulled all the feathers off and stuck those feathers on the animatronic. I'd have preferred it if it was like more colourful,
Oh.
more than magpie feathers.
It's definitely interesting now because now we have like a good idea of what color Microraptor was too. And it's like kind of on the same track. They had more of like an iridescent, like bluish black sheen. So they're kind of close in terms of their portrayal.
Yeah, they struck lucky by using the magpie, but it's because I knew it was a magpie that put me off a bit. But
Yeah.
you could imagine they had that iridescence. So and as you say, the pigments have been fossilized, so they know what they look like. So no, I think if you were going to bring something back, it would be great to have a Microraptor.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting little portrayal. Like it's interesting how close the colors are, and the fact that it's a practical effect is always really cool. Next up is the Land Before Time. We have Guido here. He does have his feathers, though he doesn't really have like the wings on his legs. Unfortunately, it's just on his arms, and he has 4 fingers. Microraptor had 3. How dare a stylized children's movie be stylized? Anyway, his colors are actually kind of close to Microraptor's colors in the way that they're sort of turquoise here. Microraptor had colors that are very similar to modern day ravens and crows. They have like an iridescent black-blue coloration that was likely used as display for members of the same species. This isn't too far off from that, though it does kind of seem like he has a beak, which is something that Microraptor did not have. Microraptor did have like a regular non-avian dinosaur snout filled with all kinds of little teeth. But I like him. I think he's a very fun, stylized design, honestly. Next up is Mammals versus Dinosaurs, Episode 2, The Rise of Mammals. So, again, we have some slight blue coloration here, which is pretty close. They're close to predicting the future. This was released in 2007. We are getting closer to the time in which we know what colors they had. Wing feathers are present, and the leg feathers are present, and the CGI looks pretty decent on this fella. Like, I quite like the way that he looks. The image that I have is not the best of quality, but I still think that he looks pretty decent. The skeletal structure is decently close to Microraptor, and it's portrayed as climbing the trees and like a little bit more of a glider. There's PBS Nova's 4-winged dinosaurs. There is a very cool model that was created here. It has some sick colors. Like, look how cool this looks. I love the oranges and the browns that we see here. And just look at that. Look at the detail in the feathers and the detail in the skull and everything. I think that this was something that was done to like kind of see their flying capabilities, trying to see how good they were at, say, gliding or even powered flight to some extent, I'm sure. But man, that model is just glorious. If I could have that model, I would very much appreciate it. Okay, if you guys don't want it anymore, I'll take it. I'll take it off your hands. I'll put it right here with Laura or something. I'll put it somewhere. If you guys don't want it, I could, yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. It's a very, very cool model. I think that they killed it with that. Like, that is so, so sick. Then we have Tarbosaurus, the mightiest ever. We do not have a blue coloration here as well. It's got more of like a red coloration. I think that its neck might be a little bit too long, but the head looks all right. It has like a little bit more of an elongated snout. It does have its like 3 fingers, which are portrayed as being decently long right here. Microraptor did have pretty long fingers. And it does have the arm feathers as well, though they are significantly reduced compared to what they would have been like for the real life animal. So it's a fairly interesting depiction. There's also Dino Lab 2, where this one, they're really kind of like testing the flying capabilities of Microraptor. What's interesting is that almost every time Microraptor shows up, they're like, at least from a lot of the documentaries that I've watched on this list, they're always trying to figure out the flying capabilities of it. Like, they're using Microraptor as like the link between non-avian dinosaurs and of modern day birds and how flight evolved within dinosaurs, which, I mean, that does make sense. Microraptor is a very bird-like non-avian dinosaur, which, by the way, Microraptor is not a bird. It is still within the Dromaeosaurid family, and Dromaeosaurs are not birds. You know, they are still a family of non-avian dinosaurs. So even though Microraptor looks like a bird, it's not quite a bird. Anyway, Dino Lab has a pretty cool design. It looks like it has some blues, maybe some grays, and some red wings as well, which is pretty cool. I don't know. I just really like the way that the CGI model looks, especially mixed in with the colors. And this is a documentary where they kind of show that it might have had some ability to perform some form of powered flight, at least for a limited amount of time. So it was very cool to see that showcased here. Next up is Dinosaur Train. This one has like a sort of purple coloration, which is a little bit closer to the colors that we will see in hopefully some later depictions. But it does seem like she has a beak, which again is something that Microraptor did not have. She does have her arm wings, but the leg wings do seem to be significantly reduced. At least from this image, they're kind of hidden. But again, it is a stylized show. It's not going to be 100% accurate to our modern understanding. Pretty cool depiction. I like the colors. Next up is Planet Dinosaur that does not have the blue feathers. We have a blue face instead, which is pretty interesting. And I love its crown. That crown is so cool. Like, I love like the reds and the oranges here. Again, it's portrayed as like a sort of gliding dinosaur. It does have all 4 of its wings, and it does have some feathers on its tail as well. It's also portrayed as going after a lizard, which is likely for Microraptor. Microraptor likely went after small vertebrates. I think some earlier depictions we saw, it was going after like some insects or some bugs or some worms and things like that. It likely went after something that was a little bit larger. That's not to say it would never eat bugs, but it probably wasn't the main focus of its diet. But this one is cool. I love the quality of the CGI and it's got its teeth exposed, which is kind of rare for Microraptor, I've noticed. Most of the depictions we've seen gave it lips, but this one has its teeth exposed, so that's certainly interesting. But it's not a bad depiction. I quite like it. I think it's pretty cool. And this is like, I believe this was released 2 years before we made the discovery, so we're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting close. Speckles the Tarbosaurus. This just kind of seems like a little bit more of like an updated version from like the earliest one, Tarbosaurus, the mightiest ever. It's got the same coloration, the long fingers, the reduced arm feathers. The neck seems shorter though, so that's a little bit more accurate. And the snout seems pretty decent. It's like small and triangular, which is decently close to Microraptor. And again, it's shown its flying capabilities, which is pretty common for Microraptor depictions. In Dino Dan, we have this fella right here that has some blue coloration. You have some dark blues and some light blues present here, as well as some whites and some oranges. And the fingers are very long. It's got like a small size, which is true for Microraptor. Microraptor was not really that big of a dromaeosaur. And the CGI looks pretty decent overall. I believe it also shows up in Dino Dana, according to this little thumbnail right here. And it looks pretty cool too. It seems like the colors are fairly consistent from the Dino Dan appearance, so I don't know if really much has changed in that department. On Team Umizoomi, someone submitted this on the Discord. I would have never found this beforehand, so thank you for doing that. By the way, join the Discord if you want to like submit some depictions that might show up in future many interpretations of videos. You know, I always announce when we're doing one. But this one, look at this one. Look at the the colors are actually very close. It's got blue and purple coloration. Obviously, skeletally, it doesn't really match up to Microraptor. It is stylized, but that's a fun depiction. Then we have Ancient Earth. And we have colors that are far closer. I mean, they're not quite like the same type of iridescent that we'll be seeing with later, more modern depictions, but this is very close. I mean, it was released in 2018, so it should have the basic proper coloration. The wings are very blue, and it does have 4 of them. Its teeth are exposed, and it's got like these huge eyes as well, which is also pretty likely for the animal. But this one's really good. This one's pretty dang close to our more modern understanding. In David Attenborough's Conquest of the Skies 3D, we got this one that, there we go. That one, that's like the iridescent sheen, the iridescent like black blue coloration that we have been looking for, and the whole skeletal structure looks great, and I love how it's like folding its arms, like folding its wings. The wings look amazing, like those feathers on the arms look so good, and the feathers on the legs, and I love the way that the feathers on the tail look as well. So that one, near perfect, really. I mean, I would have added like a little bit more extra fluff to the neck, but all around, this is pretty dang good. Also, it does have the little sickle claw, which is something that it did have. There's also weird birds and Mikey. So we do have Mikey from Archisuchus's Weird Birds, and this is what it looks like. Again, another near perfect depiction right here. The coloration is pretty much spot on. You have the blue-black coloration, and the whole model is just absolutely amazing. Weird Birds is, of course, a very cool project that I recommend checking out. It's like basically a Twitter story. There's a lot of really cool videos on YouTube that like read through it. I recommend checking them out. It's really a fun watch. But yeah, this is amazing. I love the way that the feathers look. You can even see a little bit of iridescence in the wing right there. It's just so cool. And yeah, Mikey. Okay, and then we'll move on to the Jurassic franchise. So first of all, apparently Microraptor was once considered to show up in Jurassic World Dominion in the prologue. It was supposed to be the dinosaur that was like, you know, picking at the teeth of Giganotosaurus. Apparently it was later replaced by Morris intrepidus because Morris intrepidus was a North American dinosaur, which Giganotosaurus is South American. Iguanodon is European. Oviraptor is Asian. I don't know why we had to be accurate with just Morris, but anyway, it would have been cool to see it here. It would have been cool to see it fill that role, kind of like cleaning the mouth of the Giganotosaurus. I mean, I don't know if that's the exact reason why it was replaced. That's just what it says on the wiki. So I guess take that as a grain of salt, I suppose. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if that was the case. But we'll keep in the Jurassic franchise looking at some of the video games. In one of the Jurassic Park arcade games, there are some Microraptors that try to fly at you. Their wings seem pretty decent, and they have, like, colors that, of course, are not overly accurate. But, yeah, it's pretty cool that they're present. In Jurassic World Alive, they look quite awesome. It looks like their colors are a little bit closer, but not quite there. But I love how much, like, how thick their necks are and how much those feathers kind of link up with the rest of the head. Looks very naturalistic for the animal, and the feathers overall look really good. In Fossil Fighters, we have this one right here. Obviously, this was released before we knew the coloration. It has some greens with some reds and some whites and some yellows. It's very like robust and very stylized, and I quite like it. I think it's very fun. Awesome. In Ark, we have these little fellas. I believe I've tried to like chase these fellas before a long time ago, back when I played a little bit of Ark on TikTok. Never got a good look at them, and they don't look bad per se. Like the neck might be a little bit too long, and obviously they're stylized in a way that fits the Ark style. Obviously, I know that they're not the specific species of Microraptor that we know of. I know that they're like a fictional species, but you know, they're still inspired from them. The feathers look really good though, and they have the small size, and yeah, they're pretty fun depictions overall. So now we have the amazing prehistoric kingdom that has just absolutely gorgeous little Microraptors that have the proper coloration. Basically, like you can see a little like hints of green up here because of the iridescence, and the overall thing is kind of like blue-black in coloration. The feather placement looks practically spot on. Like, look at the way that the feathers look on its hind limb as well as on its forelimb over here. And also, this is a good way to like kind of look at how detailed, or well, kind of like look at the details of the feathers. You'll notice how the feathers basically cover pretty much the whole hand. Like you can only see one of the claws exposed. That is very true for dromaeosaurs like Microraptor here. These are just really amazing little fellas, and I really, really like the way that they look. Like, look at them, and their little sounds too, and you can see that they kind of, they perform a little bit of flight, obviously. Oh, that one's on the ground. I'm gonna hop around, then it jumps onto the yeah, there it goes. But yeah, these are probably among my favorite, which probably, probably isn't really surprising, because I'm a huge fan of, oh, look at the way it sleeps. I'm a huge fan of the way that they design their creatures in Prehistoric Kingdom. I think that they always do kill it, and Microraptor is certainly no exception for that. And I just love seeing these guys fly around. There they go. There it goes. Yeah, no, it's a very good design. I really like it. 10 out of 10, quite amazing. And then Paleopines. Now, Paleopines has like a lot of different colors for their animals, but one of the colors that is present for Microraptor is pretty dang accurate with the darker blues here. And it looks like they even like did some colors that kind of mimic the iridescence. You have some greens that kind of fade into blues right here. So cool. That is so cool. Pretty dang accurate, all things considered, despite the fact that it is a little bit stylized to fit the style of the game. But yeah, pretty dang good. And there we have it. Those are some of the depictions of Microraptor. Some pretty good ones. Obviously, most of the depictions that were made before we knew what colors Microraptor was. We know what colors Microraptor was because of these little pigments called melanosomes. They were so well preserved on Microraptor that you can still compare those to the modern day birds, and you can get the coloration. The ones present on Microraptor are very reminiscent to the same ones that are found on modern day crows and on modern day ravens, which of course are animals that have like a dark blue black coloration that is iridescent. So that's the coloration that Microraptor had in life. So it's very cool to see a few depictions here that have that showcased. But I did have fun with this one. There's some really cool depictions. A lot of people were excited for this one. I was excited for this one. It's always really cool to dive into dinosaurs like this. But that is pretty much all I have for this one. Now listen, I have a Patreon and I have a channel membership. If you're interested in helping support me and the channel, be sure to check those out down below. They're in the description down below. You get access to some really cool perks, like on the YouTube membership, you gain access to videos early, which I think is overall very cool. Thank you so much to everybody who currently supports me on those platforms. You guys are truly, truly awesome. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have an awesome day.